Welcome to Growth Leaders by Short, where we explore the mindset, habits, and heart behind extraordinary leadership. Our mission is to make world-class learning accessible and affordable for every small and mid-sized company. Today's guest is someone who truly embodies the art and science of leadership, Anouk Brack. Anouk is a certified leadership embodiment trainer, executive coach, keynote speaker, and author of 4 leadership books. With a background in biology and over 25 years of experience developing leaders across organizations like the City of Hague, Dawn Foods, and the Geneva Center for Peace and Security, Anouk helps leaders navigate stress, complexity, and change with clarity and compassion. Her approach integrates Western neuroscience with Eastern wisdom, offering practical tools to help leaders keep their head cool and heart warm. Something we deeply value here at Chart Learning Solutions as we continue helping leaders and teams grow through purposeful learning. Anouk, we are so thrilled to have you with us on Growth Leaders by Chart. So most welcome.
Thank you.
Great. And now we actually gonna put you straight into the question about leadership embodiment, because you mix the blend of science, embodiment, and leadership. And if I'm a novice in leadership embodiment, what does that mean to me or any other leader?
Leadership embodiment, it's about the state you're in the moment, and how you can be aware of that, and especially how you can shift it quickly when you want to be in a more resourceful state. We all have states that improve and go down the drain, so to say, and there's much more we can do consciously about our state in the moment. And those techniques is what I share with leaders, because they want to achieve a lot, but they're not always aware whether they're in the right state for what they're trying to do.
So right now I'm sitting in a meeting, and 2 minutes before I got a call that we lost that deal which we have been working so hard on to get. Yeah. And I actually have an employee meeting here who's come in and gonna talk about his problems. And I am not in the best mood, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Anouk, I'm calling you. You're calling you. What should I do?
Okay, Peter, sit upright and relaxed. Good. Breathe in and lengthen your spine a little bit more. Breathe out. Let that tension go. And now look around the room, become aware of the space, and focus on your upcoming meeting and the purpose and connection. And you're ready to go.
Anouk, I'm so happy to have you here. So, you worked with leaders across sectors and cultures. So, what do you think is one quality that differentiates those who thrive under pressure, which I just did here, from those who burn out?
Yeah, of course, I think handling your self-regulation is what it's called. Is a very important skill that many leaders are not aware of. They're aware of competencies and skills like project management and having meetings, all of those leadership skills, but they often don't know about the state development. So this is something that if they're aware of that, and what we just did is called centering, and it's a quick way to shift your state. So if they use those techniques, then they can accomplish much more while feeling less busy. And at the evening and in the weekends, they can actually be a human being and not have the work continue, even into sometimes sleepless nights. So it helps both with stress management, but it also helps to bring out your most brilliant innovation, your best connection with your people. And because you're more present in the moment, you're also better able to set priorities and make good decisions. Because even when you know this feeling when we're busy, I think a lot of leaders have that, especially if you have a small company that you started yourself, then everything is important and you feel that you're needed everywhere. I see that a lot. then this busy, 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 it gives us the sense that we're accomplishing a lot, but we're not actually sure whether we're running up the wrong mountain, and we're burning ourselves out because we can't keep that stress level going for too long. It makes us perform less, and doesn't work well for communication, and it's also just unhealthy. So if leaders are often ill the moment they go on holiday, then you know you're one of those people who keeps running, 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 and then the body takes the break when it can. So the better deal is to do it multiple times throughout the day. In briefly, what we just did was like 5 seconds, right? If you do that multiple times a day, you don't need all that that big disaster or burnout. And it's just a sign that you've probably been running too long. But the body, eventually the body will win. So we can, of course, push ourselves quite a lot. But in the long run, that's not healthy. It's also shown by science that it's very unhealthy for the heart and for other parts of ourselves. But even if you can keep running for years, it's not good for your business outcome either, because it turns your communication to the worse. Your employee communication and collaboration will get worse. People also will start to look for other jobs. And so it's shown that leaders who are able to self-regulate, a sense of calm, you don't have to be boring or zen all the time, but a sense of calm and presence, then connection with the people around you, and then lead them, that works the best. And then you get great impact, good retention of your people, and they really want to go the extra mile for you.
So there's some conclusions here. One which I've realized is that you can actually suppress the stress a lot if you have deadlines, or it could be serious things happening and so on. Even though you should have been sick, you won't be it during that time. Well, there's another example also. I'm working with a smaller company, there's some 20 employees, and the CEO is on its way to retirement. They've got in new people there, and suddenly a few has stopped also working there. And those symptoms are very clear here, because the new leaders has not fully taken on all responsibilities. So there are things missing out. And that ends up in mornings starting at 4 o'clock because you cannot sleep anymore. You're up working, trying to get things ordered and settled and so on. So that is a situation which I don't think is too uncommon. I mean, it can come up in different. So how would you how would you handle a situation like that? What would you train that person to work on?
I would first teach them to center themselves, both the really short version that we just did at the start, but also a slightly longer version of maybe 1.5 minutes. I mean, people are busy, so I can't ask them to do 45 minutes of mindfulness during the lunch break, right? Although that would be a good idea, but not everybody's going to go for that. And if they know this longer 1.5 minute and the shorter like 5-second version of it, then they're going to practice to put that throughout their day, like 10 times. And that's maybe once every hour, or at the start of every new meeting. And that already will make sure that they're less stressed throughout the day and less exhausted, you could say, at the end of the day. And it will also calm down already some of that stress that wakes them up too early. This might take a while if they've been running for a long time, but they will immediately feel a shift. Like if you, when we did it at the start of our session here, you might have felt that shift, and it keeps with you for a little while, and then it gets lower again, and then you can do it again, because it's just such a quick exercise that you do while somebody's talking to you, or even while you're talking yourself. You can breathe in and lengthen, you can breathe out, relax, and become aware of the space around you again. And that's it. That already resets your system. So that's what I would start with, and then also work with such a person on, at the end of the day, kind of harvest what did work out, good things they did achieve, because often we only know what we didn't get to. At least that's my own problem as well. So at the end of the day, I take a look at what's my purpose again, with my big purpose with my company, and which things did I do that helped towards that goal, and I call those the goals that we made for that day. And then I also notice what are some lovely moments, unrelated to results, but just a nice conversation, or the sun during lunch, or a joke somebody made. And that's a way to stop your workday in a way that you're really harvesting the good thing, and you're telling yourself, hey, I accomplished some things today, and that will also help you start the new day with a fresh focus and energy.
So this sounds to me is actually something which is for everyone. Here we focus on the leadership embodiment, but we know our youngsters and so on. Okay, that's interesting. So what I also hear when you're explaining here, and maybe it's a mix-up on my side, but you clearly have a cultural aspect here also. So if we look at the eastern side of the world, then we have more with a yes, but it may not mean a yes in the sense as we interpret a yes, but it may not have to do with the embodiment, or does it have to do with that, how they are brought up, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think a huge part of that is cultural, and there are still subtle signs that if people are nodding, they're nodding in different ways, and the one nod means hell no, and the other nod means of course I'm with you. If you're a Western leader coming without all that subtle background, then you will take it all as a yes, and you think you have a great deal, and then down the line you find out, it's not working out. How is this possible? They said yes. And where the embodiment and the centering comes in is that when we're centered, we can process more information. So then we might actually pick up on those subtle cues that people are actually sending, and we might be able to be a bit more skillful in those kind of situations, instead of assuming that everybody thinks the way we do. I mean, that's the thing with our brain, right? We have the top side of our brain, our prefrontal cortex, and that understands all things about cultural differences and how interesting that is, and that diversity can be a good thing, and all beautiful concepts. But lower down in our brain is the survival brain, and our whole cultural background lives close to that. And that side, under pressure, it assumes that your frame of reference is my frame of reference. So even though part of me knows that's not the case, under pressure I fall back to this limited vision, and I have a kind of a tunnel vision of can only look at things from my perspective. So that's not helpful if you're doing complex deals, or if you want to do innovation with people from different backgrounds. Then you need all that, those capacities that are in your prefrontal cortex. But those are only really available when we are fully in the moment, when we are centered. Otherwise, the lower brain takes over. And we, as a society, we put ourselves under a lot of pressure. And then we have our phones with lots of information all the time. And it doesn't put us in the best state to be creative, innovative, to process information, to have empathy and self-reflection. Those are all the capacities that go offline when we're under pressure. And most of us are most of the time quite under pressure. So imagine the positive capacities, the potential that we could have if more people were able to access those capacities more of the time. And you really see it in...
Yeah, it would be a friendlier world, that's for sure.
It would be a friendlier world. And I'm a little bit of an idealist, that thinking, oh, if only I could teach this to all the world leaders. I would love to speak at the UN to share them these simple techniques, because it's not that you become a pushover. You can still be strong in your own perspective and what you do and don't want, but you're also better at listening and at connecting with others and at coming up with creative solutions. So it's easier to really get to a win-win and forge long-term relationships.
There's a lot of similarities here. We have a course which is called Leadership with Kindness. And that is also sometimes a misunderstanding. You cannot be a strong leader and if you're not very clear, but you can be very clear and very kind at the same time. And you know how you master these techniques. Well, you're talking also about... Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was saying that's a fascinating thing that is actually quite... I think it's good to emphasize it again. We think that when we're under pressure, we need to tense up and be strong so we won't be a pushover, and that is leadership. We also see in science that connection comes first, and then people are willing to be led. So there's this sense of inclusivity from your presence. It's not a concept, it's your presence, where people can feel this biologically. And we don't, somewhere in our lower survival brain, we don't believe that we can be strong and connected at the same time. We have this idea that either we're strong and kind of a bully, or we're connected and a pushover. And then you have to choose, which one do you want? But the thing is, like you were alluding to, you don't actually have to choose. You can be strong and connected and clear. And how great is that? And not having to choose between those two, but bringing the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit also about cultivating psychological safety. And that sounds maybe a little bit not clear. What does that mean, and how do you... Let's start with what that means as a leader, and how they can do that by being now here. That's what you and I are right now.
Yeah. So the psychological safety is something you hear more about, and of course it can be good to read up on it, even practice some skills. But when I look at it from an embodiment perspective, the greatest gift you can give yourself and others actually is practicing this centered presence under pressure. Because otherwise it's not difficult, right? But can we do it in challenging situations when somebody's really annoying us or being so different or difficult that we have a hard time staying connected and present? And then these techniques help us to be present with more and more challenging and possibly strange situations. So we become more comfortable with being uncomfortable, so to say, because we're really not that good at being uncomfortable and still being present. If we're uncomfortable, we start to want to fix it or go away. But can we be present and go, whoa, this is an uncomfortable situation. Okay, let's center myself and see how we can bring this forward.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, if we look a little bit on your personal journey, so what has transformed you from, being into the biology and then now working as in leadership and coaching leaders? Something must have triggered you from where you started and where you studied into this. What happened?
Yeah, I was always interested in human potential, both as a biologist and as a leadership trainer. I want to know what we're capable of in a good sense. We see daily what we're capable of in a bad sense, but I know we have such a great potential and we've already achieved quite a lot. If you look at the the big outcomes in the world, there's also much more education, less hunger, and more clean drinking water. So some things are going well. And this has always interested me, sustainability, technology, and especially human potential. So the brain is part of that, right? And if we study our brain under pressure, and if we learn how to get out of that triggered state that we get into quite easily, it's amazing. I can explain how that happened, but we're so easily slightly triggered, and then we're also less self-reflective, so we don't really notice. It's much easier to see somebody else is off balance than to notice that you yourself are off balance. So when at first I did the biology to understand the brain more from a biological standpoint, but I ended up studying a lot of dead brains. That's the thing. But it's in a living system, right, that it happens. So I wanted to study live people, and that led me more towards psychology, neurophysiology, and kind of this mesh between biology, psychology, and how can we help ourselves and each other to reach our full potential. So that's what I kept on developing, and then about 15 years ago I discovered leadership embodiment, and this was developed by my teacher Wendy Palmer, and she had solved so many of the pieces of the puzzle that I was working with myself from an Aikido standpoint, so martial art, from a mindfulness standpoint, but very applied and loose from the religious side of that. It's not religious at all anymore. It's more mind training. And then the biology behind it. And she was sharing that with leaders, and not just leaders, right? We all need that, both parents and educators. And yeah, I really loved how simple she made it and how effective it was, and that it's both a quick fix and a lifelong journey if we work with this. So I decided to study that, and now I'm the lead trainer in Europe, and I continue developing the work after she passed away with her daughter Tefani Palmer, who's still in the business, fortunately. So
wonderful.
It's just my hard wish that more people. There's more to it than just the centering technique, but if even more people would just learn that would make such a difference in their lives and in the people around them.
So let's have some short follow-up on you here. We call those rapid fire here. So you have written 4 books. They don't count right now in this rapid fire. So one book you believe every leader should read.
Well, then I'll point to the book of my teacher Wendy Palmer. That's Leadership Embodiment. Or can I not use that one either?
Yes, you can, of course. And what daily ritual do you have to feel yourself grounded? Morning or evening or during the day?
During the day, a lot of quick repetitions of this one breath centering technique, breathing in and lengthening, breathing out, relaxing, and then the space around you again, noticing that. And actually, I think making jokes, just having fun with coworkers is very important, because we tend to take ourselves and our work so seriously. But research actually shows that when we are a little bit more uplifted, and we have more lightness, that we actually function better too.
Can imagine, and maybe that was the third question. If you could leave our listeners here with an embodied leadership principle to practice this week, what would that be? Would that be a joke, or would that be actually stretch your back, relax, and draw in the air through the nose and blow out?
I think I would ask them to experiment with the centering and to emphasize with that space awareness, because the space awareness is actually quite unique to our model, and it helps everybody's biological system to register we're in this together. So if you're in my space awareness, even though we're in different places right now, right? Because we're online. But if my awareness of the space includes the screen and the camera, and even easier if you were in the room with me, then that registers in your system as there's a connection, we're good. And then we can much more easily have difficult conversations without it derailing. So if I can summarize one more time how people could practice that centering, it starts with upright and relaxed, then breathing in and lengthening a little bit more the back, breathing out down the front, nice long exhale, letting go of tension. One more breath if you have time. Breathing in, think of something that makes you smile. Exhale, relax down the front. And then make sure to look around to notice this bigger space, the bigger picture, so to say. And then you can go back to whatever wants your attention, the focus, the next meeting, the purpose.
And to me, it sounds also as a great mix. I mean, many people have their sports, they go out with a dog, or they go out for a run or cycling, etc. But the combination here doing that is great. Now,
yeah, it's interesting. Did you know in top athletes they call these kind of techniques mindset, but in leadership it's called embodiment, because leaders are already so busy with their head they need to include the body. But top athletes, they're so busy with the body they need to include their mindset. But it's the same kind of exercises.
Exactly. So great having you, Anouk, on our podcast show, Growth Leaders, and I want to thank you all for your insights. And I know you're on a great journey. So thank you so much for today.
Thank you very much for having me, Peter.